Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host tonight, Bill Hannon. I'm here with Josie Way, and tonight we're going to be interviewing Stephanie Hardie, who is very knowledgeable and practiced in herbs, not only the information that she's able to put together for us to understand how they can help people, but she has her own product line and makes salves as well as tinctures and things of that nature. So hello, Stephanie. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I myself, as many of the followers of the show are probably aware of, I've been doing herbology since high school. And so the thing is that I'm very interested in different products and trains of thought that people come together and use in order to come up with a product line to help somebody or a specific ailment that somebody may be dealing with. So what got you interested in getting involved with herbs?
Yeah, so there's so much to love, right? And I think there's a lot of avenues where folks end up in this field, but for me it was really kind of a conglomeration of a lot of things. I'm an avid gardener, and so I have a very large garden that generally does pretty well, and so first it was, how can I use all of these things that I'm growing? And I think that was when I heard tincture for the first time.
Okay.
And I was just entranced. I couldn't learn enough. I just wanted to keep going.
Sure.
I also struggle with some health issues that weren't served completely by traditional Western medicine.
Right.
And so it was kind of the marrying of those two things that really got me excited about the world of herbalism.
Right. Oh, very good, very good. So yeah, it's a lot of times people aren't aware that a lot of the focus on where herbalism may be helpful in one aspect and allopathic medicine may be usually an acute situation is something that you'd want to see a doctor about. I've said before, you know, if I'm in a car accident, don't take me to a chiropractor, you know, take me to the hospital.
Absolutely.
You know, but the thing is, you know, understanding that the use of herbs and their benefits are very appropriate for chronic situations. In fact, a lot of things that are chronic aren't really addressed that well by allopathic medicine. So what do you find, besides having an interest in being in the garden and pursuing that train of thought, who did you see, or who was the best approach for you to help?
What's the most common item or frequent items that people, you know, purchase or ask about?
Yeah, so to answer your question, Josie, I think one of the more common items that I sell, and it's both rewarding and a little bit sad. So I make a topical pain relief massage oil, and I also make an internal sleep remedy. And so those are by far and away the two most frequent things that I sell a lot of, which tells me that most folks struggle with sleep and most folks struggle with pain. So that's, again, sad, but if there are alternatives that I can provide folks that have real measurable benefits, then it's a humbling honor to be able to do that.
Now, what do you suggest for pain relief?
As far as herbs are concerned?
Yeah.
So
I know it varies.
It does, yeah, certainly. And there's going to be different considerations for
like
each
muscles,
individual person.
Arnica, something like that for your muscles.
Exactly, yeah. So in the blend that I make, there's arnica, which is great for sort of topical pain relief as a kind of general catch-all. Also great for like bruising. There's also St. John's wort in there, which can be beneficial to
Keep you happy.
well, that for sure. But it's also been used in sort of traditional herbalism for nerve pain. So that is
That's
a
good
way
to
that
know.
you can apply it as well. It's a really sort of multifaceted herb, which is super cool. Ginger is great. It's in the blend
yeah.
too to kind of help move the circulatory system by kind of moving that blood flow.
And it helps the respiratory system too.
Yes, yes. So we can kind of modulate inflammation a little bit through those actions as well.
Very true. And another thing that you had mentioned to me, and I thought this was a great way for you to pull things together and focus on being more specific in what you're trying to accomplish, is that you've actually just completed a master's program?
Yes, I did actually. I'm happy to give a shout out to my school because they are fantastic. I completed my master's in holistic health and wellness through the American College of Healthcare Sciences. They're based in Oregon. They're a fantastic school.
Wow, I bet you they do a lot with mushrooms.
They do. They're great. The campus has big, beautiful gardens.
Yes, right.
They have a great sort of apothecary shop with
Right.
bulk herbs and all kinds of cool stuff. But that was just a super rewarding experience because it kind of gives a different, more scientific view on herbalism.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
Was that online?
I did, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
do you have to go out there so many times a year?
I didn't know. I was able to do everything online. They're actually one of the first accredited online schools, actually, and they are, I believe, the only accredited online school that offers these types of holistic programs. They have others as well, like holistic nutrition and sort of other offerings. But I'm hoping to go out to visit for graduation next year, though.
Yeah.
They do have a campus, but because I'm based in Massachusetts, I didn't
Sure.
see it.
Sure. Well, it's also interesting that you mentioned how you took it upon yourself to get yourself the accreditation, also making contacts with people, establishing a network. And those people, it's great to be able to reach out to other people in different parts of the country that work with different herbs or may look for other people with more information. We're very lucky in this area to have you ever heard of one, Mary Blue?
Yes,
Okay,
she's wonderful.
she's great.
I'm a big fan.
That's right. That's very true. And again, you look at what she's doing, what she's been able to accomplish, working with the allopathic field, where she is actually teaching at Brown University, to be brought in just to make doctors aware of interactions with herbs, how they can be beneficial, as well as things that you have to be aware of, dealing with other medicines,
Definitely.
especially chemotherapies.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, one of the courses that I took through my master's was pharmacokinetics
Yes.
and toxicology class to sort of help clarify and kind of bridge that gap between working with herbs alongside of pharmaceuticals, because most folks take something or other, and so to be aware of the potential interactions or how these
Right.
things work together
Right.
to again sort of help bridge that gap is super important. So the work
Right.
like that Mary Blue is doing is just phenomenal, and I think trying to hold hands with allopathic medicine helps build that holistic framework.
Right. And also the fact that she has so many people working with her
Yeah.
up there off North Main Street, and being able to have a place that she can display and sell her products right there on site, but they're right inside the house at the same time, putting together other products. So, it's great to have that connection with somebody who's so plugged in.
Definitely.
And she has her own farm out in Exeter.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
She's doing it
Nice
all.
and fresh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It definitely makes a difference in quality with the end preparations when you have that fresh material that you're working with too. As somebody who grows or forages a lot of the herbs that I use, it makes a massive impact based on, versus getting something from like a large supplier, which you can certainly do, but you can see the end result when you've picked it yourself, and it's a different relationship that you have with the plant too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And, some plants being biannuals versus perennials, or, annuals and things of this nature, and some of them develop their potency, in the springtime, from having been growing last year and now, such as burdock root or a lot of the things of this nature, which is a very important tool in having to do with liver cleansing, or more specifically for herb tea preparations, for people with cancer.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I always kind of joke with folks that ask, what exactly is herbalism? I say, well, it can be as simple or as complicated as you want. It can be as simple as, making tea, or it can be as complicated as, again, chemistry-based master's program.
That's right. Well, you turn around and, what is herbology? You smell a rose.
Right.
You smell a rose and it just relaxes you. It feels it's uplifting.
Exactly.
And yet you can turn around and you can make an elixir from the rose petals.
Right.
And it's just interesting the different dynamics and the different approaches you can use, and how you can weave some products are much more beneficial for people when they're combined in a certain ratio.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's a big piece of when I'm formulating any of my internal remedies, like the tinctures or elixirs. If they're blends, I work really hard to get those formulations to make logical sense, not only with our bodies, but with the herbs for each other.
Right.
To have that synergy in a blend can make a big difference in the end result as well.
So, do you find yourself being in a position at times to not just listen to the person that you may be dealing with? Do you also kind of leave yourself open to get the impression from the plants, the vibration, the resonance?
Absolutely. I think that's a huge component of what I do, and it's sometimes, in the modern era of really valuing science and evidence-based practice, that piece tends to get lost, but that's a really big, important piece of herbalism. These plants have more to offer us than just a phytochemical profile. They have personalities.
Right.
And, you look at something like a flower essence, where it doesn't have these scientifically measurable amounts of things, but they work, and they work on this very subtle sort of energetic level.
That's right, exactly.
I have to interrupt.
Please do.
Because I wanted to say something before, but I suppose I had to wait to now. I was reading on my news feed. Plants have voices. And I had heard about this quite a while back, but I said, it's out there for people to hear.
Right.
He said, and they do it by threatening the plant. So they threaten to cut it or something, and it screams.
Right.
And they can hear an audible scream.
Right. Or you light a match next to the leaves.
So they have to, if they weren't ready for this, they have to start rethinking their thinking.
Right, yeah. And
that plants,
fascinating.
And they are willing to give themselves to us for healing and nourishment.
Right.
Yes. I think you bring up a really important point. I think, using herbs for ailments is great, but there's so much more to herbalism as a practice than that, and that sort of reciprocal relationship and giving back to these things that are sacrificed for us, and they do it willingly, but to sort of hold them in an honor is important. That's a huge important piece of what I do and how I run my business and make my products. So I think you bring up a really great point that these things are beings.
Well, the
they're
way
part of the earth, just
the
like
way
we
that you
are.
work with them, it's like I don't know how long it took them to say animals have feelings,
Right.
and now it's, oh yeah,
Or even rocks,
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Again,
Rocks
Or
react.
the information that trees are able to acquire over the last 100, 150 years as they've been growing,
Yeah.
picking up the vibration and the dynamics of what's happening historically in that region. It's just
They're
by
historians.
understanding that,
very much so. Very much so.
and that's the reason why I was looking when I said, when you sit with people and you sit with plants, I wasn't going to come out and ask you, do you listen to the plants speak to you?
Oh, of course I do.
I
Of
had
course.
to. You left me to do that.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
but
right.
if we were to go on long enough, I would have willingly offered it
Yes,
because I say
yes.
that to everybody. Of course,
Right.
plants have a lot to say if you know how to listen.
And yet, for some person, they know what they need, and the plants, there may be half a dozen plants that would be beneficial to that person, but these 2 or 3 specific plants probably resonate better with a person's chemical being, their frequency, their dynamics, that if you listen, you actually it just kind of comes to your head that actually this plant would be better for you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's another really big piece of herbalism.
Right.
I think sometimes folks kind of get lost in this this plant for this ailment rigidity, but
Right,
it's
right.
not always that. People are dynamic, like you said, and focusing on individual constitution helps us decide what plants make the most sense.
Right.
So
Very
it's
true.
using your intuition
Yeah.
is very important.
It is, yeah. That's just why it's such a fun field, because it is science and evidence-based, but there's a lot of intuition in it as well. So it leaves a lot of room for experimentation and fun, quite frankly.
Right. And again, some plants are not beneficial for people. Some plants are poisonous.
Right.
Yes.
And some people may put together a formulation for somebody and you don't get the desired effects. It's probably because the frequency of the plant doesn't resonate with the frequency of the person to help bring about a healing response.
Right.
And that's why sometimes it's better to possibly to go with a different type of approach, a route that would be more beneficial because it has strong constituents
Definitely.
than an aerial or flower
Right.
might have for that person.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I think that's a really good point too, because you bring up the fact that there's so many different kind of reasons why a certain remedy might not work for a certain person. And again, that can be frustrating for some people that aren't really familiar with the field. They want something to work and they want something to work now.
Oh, yes.
But that's not how herbalism works.
No.
So,
Take 1 dose, 4 drops, 4 times a day.
Yeah.
I have a hard time remembering 2 times a day.
Yeah.
and so do I, and I make the things.
Right,
so I
right,
totally
right.
get it. And I
That's
think,
right.
sometimes that transparency can help kind of break that barrier. Like
Yeah.
say, I'm certainly not perfect. There's definitely times where I say,
That's
oh,
the
shit, I
time
forgot
where-
that tea.
Yeah, there's times when you need to put the tea, packet or something,
Right,
in a visible
right,
place to
right.
remind you.
That's
Definitely.
right. That's right.
Just stick the tincture in your purse so you can take it with
Yes.
you.
Right.
Or, in fact, make sure you might have 2 or 3 things that you use. Like you might use the tincture, but for regular dosing, but you might use a tea for, let's say, extra doses.
Definitely. And I think that's something fascinating about the field too, is that, not only do we consider the plants and what plants are great for what people, but the delivery mechanism is also important.
The route, yeah.
If somebody has urinary tract issues or bladder issues, a tincture isn't going to be your best bet. A tea, however, that flushes all that liquid through that system and delivers the herb to its target area is going to be a lot more effective.
Yeah. Like,
Right,
like
and-
cranberry for,
Exactly.
infections.
Right.
Yep. Yes, that's true. That's very true. And again, the delivery system, I mean, is it going to be something that's alcohol-based? Or, I mean, I actually have people that have had issues with dependency on alcohol in the past. And I, basically say, well, you need the alcohol to get the active ingredients out of the root in order to break it down so your body can use it. But you can avoid the pitfalls of the association of alcohol and what you're dealing with by putting it into a cup of boiling water, and give it a few minutes for the alcohol to evaporate. And this way, when you consume it, you're getting the benefit of what the alcohol did the actual work for you and making it available to your bloodstream so it can deliver it throughout your body.
Absolutely. I love that. That's something I often tell a lot of folks too.
Right.
And I love that really highlights the flexibility of herbalism and using herbs because, there are ways that we do things, but it's not rigid, and we can make these changes for people based on, again, their individuality. So I always love that as well, and I love that flexibility.
Yeah.
I had learned when it came to, I don't know if it was tinctures or elixirs, that you could use interchangeably with alcohol. It loses some of its effectiveness. Vinegar.
Vinegar is very helpful.
When you're using, if you're using the alcohol as a preservative.
Same thing with oils. But the thing is, vinegar
It doesn't last so long.
may not get all what the higher aspects of the plant, such as triterpenes or something that's really specific for what you're trying to help that person use to address an issue. Beta glucans or sugars that are easily dissolved by hot water or by vinegars are great. But other times, you especially when you're dealing with the roots or a woody part,
Right.
or like reishi mushroom,
Yes.
polypore type of mushrooms that you want to have grain alcohol, as well as two-tier process where you use water first, press the water out, and then you use an alcohol and do the extraction with the alcohol. And then you combine the two so that it's not very strong alcohol, but it's strong enough for the tincture to last a few years without going bad.
Yeah.
It's
That is the difference between some holistic, some allopathic medications, how
Sure.
long it can keep on the shelf.
right.
Definitely
That's right.
consideration, yeah.
Yeah. If it's something that can be dried, it can keep a long time.
Sometimes, yeah.
But other things that, don't keep as long.
Right, yeah, all different preparations have all different shelf lives, and it depends on what you use or
Right.
how it's stored even.
So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, I mean, do you have a business name or do you have a phone number or
Absolutely.
internet access?
Yeah. So I own and operate as a single owner and operator of Gate and Garden Herbal Apothecary.
Say that again, it's a little slower.
You got it. That is Gate and Garden
Oh, Gate
Herbal
and
Apothecary.
Garden, that's great.
Yes. I'm based out of the South Shore of Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
And you can find me on Instagram or Facebook through that same handle at Gate and Garden, or Gate and Garden herbals@gmail.com is another form of contact for me as well.
That's great. Very good, very good.
Do you teach classes?
I do some workshops, again, mostly in my area in Massachusetts, but I'm sort of focusing on doing more as I continue to sort of continue with my business. I've only had it really as an established entity for a couple of years, so it's certainly a learning process, and I'm offering more as I continue to have a little bit more time, especially now being done with my master's. So now that I have the time, yes, definitely more.
Right, right. Well, it's also nice to you mentioned thyme, and there's a lot of herbs out there that you can fold into your culinary aspects, but also have beneficial results within your body when you consume them. How some very simple herbs are great for viral issues, or some nuts are great for viral or bacterial issues, I mentioned to you earlier that I think it's great that just understanding what foods are good for you and for what reason it can kind of guide you in the right direction as to a type of diet that would be beneficial for you besides vitamins or allopathic medicine.
Definitely, definitely. I obviously love herbalism. It's where I spend most of my time, but truly all of these modalities are underpinned by good diet. And it's really hard to mitigate things just through fixes. But with a good foundation of a good diet, we can make a lot more progress with a myriad of different issues.
Right.
Well, we're not just treating the symptom, but we are looking to treat the cause.
Exactly. And
Which a lot of allopathic medicine
Symptomology is what they focus on.
eliminates the symptoms
Right.
yes.
because that's what the patient wants.
Yes, and in the short term, it's helpful.
But it doesn't get to the root of the problem.
Right, which in the long term is not helpful.
No.
So it's, sort of a
And they're
dual
being
aspect.
called to account for it now. And more people are saying, you're not touching the cause.
Right,
Right, right.
Just like that Sudafed line that they just came out with, stating that this line of products has never been beneficial and probably will never be beneficial. And so, should we take it off the market or shall we just still leave it there because people will buy it?
Which is a crazy
know.
thought process.
That's right. But that's their line of thinking. So, but it's great to have that background to be able to just be there, and it's so easy sometimes to bring up a point that, well, you say you're dealing with this issue, it's interesting how this plant or this vegetable or things of this nature can help you just by incorporating into your diet. Or I have a line of products, and you can try them, and this way, if you get benefit from them, nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah, I'm certainly always going to be that person that will sneak in some discussion about herbalism or plants, no matter who I'm talking to or why.
Right. Well, that's great. So, your line again, the Gate and Garden.
Yes.
All right. And what was that email address?
gateandgardenherbals@gmail.com.
Good.
You can find me there.
So, besides a couple of the products that you mentioned, what other items do you formulate?
I do a wide range. Again, all internal remedies like tinctures or elixirs, topical items like salves, or even various body care items like lip balm or...
For people that aren't familiar, could you tell the difference between a tincture and an extract?
Yeah, so I think if you're looking at a tincture, it's generally an alcohol-based extraction. An elixir is that, but it also has the addition of some type of sweetener. So like honey or maple syrup. It helps a little bit with palatability.
Okay. I never knew the difference.
Yeah.
Right, a little bit of sugar helps the medicine go down.
It
Yes.
does, yeah, especially with some of those tougher
herbals.
herbs. Yeah.
Oh, some of them are.
Some are tough, yeah.
Very.
Yes.
Right.
I always joke herbs are not notorious for tasting good, but they do work. So.
That's right. And it's interesting how they, over the years, were able to disguise some of that
Absolutely.
Because you had to, especially if you're dealing with youngsters, a little bit of honey or
Absolutely.
mix in with the food or something like that.
Yes.
But it still brings about a healing response.
Right, and you're still getting in those constituents.
Those nutrients,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I really thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. I say thank you to the audience for being here and making us a part of their evening to be able to share this information, and hopefully other people will be able to now have access to